Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 14-Day Artist Journey. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. I am here today with Lacey Morgan. And Lacey, we're going to get to you in just one second. But before we get started, I want to remind you guys about the 14-Day Artist Journey. Just in case today is your first day here joining us, welcome. The 14-Day Artist Journey is can I even speak? The 14-Day Artist Journey is composed of 4 phases that we're going through. And phase 1 is self-awareness. And during this phase, we're kind of taking stock of, first and foremost, all of the things that we're good at, that we're proud of, that we do well, that we're skilled in. And we take stock of those and we keep them handy for whenever we have negative loops, so we can go back to them and remind ourselves there are things that we're really good at. The next part is we're going to start taking a look at the things where we might have holes in our skill sets. We might have obstacles that are real or perceived. And regardless if they're real or perceived, there's still something that we have to take a look at because we're going to want to try and find a way around them. And everything starts with this base. This is our foundation. This is our jumping off point. Once we've have self-awareness and radical self-acceptance, then we can start moving forward. So the next phase is phase 2, and that's vulnerability. And this is where we learn that vulnerability is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing that helps us grow and have a more beautiful, rich, full life. And we make an agreement with ourselves to be vulnerable. Then we move into phase 3. And phase 3 is where we start building mental fortitude, resiliency, and we go out and we are brave and we do things that are outside of our comfort zone and perhaps things that we're a little afraid of or things we've not tried before. And the more we do this, the better we get at doing it. And the better we get at doing it, the more we grow and the more we learn, and hence this being a journey. So these 3 things are a continuum. And it's almost like reprogramming your brain. It's not a one and done kind of thing. You do it on a regular basis. Sometimes you do it multiple times in a day. I think I've done it about 100 times today. How many times have you done it today, Lacey? A few? Yeah. Okay. So, it's something that we do frequently. And the more we do it, the more we program our brain to do it, and the easier it becomes. The more aware we are, the more vulnerable we are, the more brave we are. So then when we get to that point, we've built this really solid foundation where we can start creating vision for how we want to execute our work as artists, how we want to run our businesses, how we want to show up in the world for our audience, for our clients, for ourselves, and for the people that we love and the people that are around us. So this is the journey. And if you have not already, you need to go to the 14-Day Photo Artist Journey and register, because pro prints are awesome. And they're giving everyone who signs up for this a free canvas wrap. So you guys need to go sign up for that, most definitely. We also have a downloadable workbook that you can go through on this journey, and it's quite awesome if I say so myself. And I think it's helpful in more ways than just helping you refine your vision. It's going to bring a lot of clarity to a lot of things for you, and that's a beautiful thing. So today we're going to talk about the execution of our personal projects. But before we do that, I want to introduce you guys to Lacey, and I want to talk a little bit about our journey together and our journey. So with that, Lacey, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to everyone, that would be awesome. So take a look.
Hi, I'm Lacey Morgan, and I am the executive producer here at Denise Birdsong Education. But I wasn't always a producer. Before, I spent many years as a photographer, both as a wedding photographer and a boudoir photographer. I had a studio with multiple locations, multi 6 figures, a big team. But as all artists do, we go through journeys, and I found that my creativity took me to a different place. And now I am heavily into content creation, storytelling, and mostly helping Denise further her mission to change and transform people's lives, because I believe in it. It's done it for me. It made my work amazing. And yeah, and I'm really just, I wanted to be a part of that, and I'm passionate about it. I feel like it's my baby too. And which I think Denise would probably agree, it definitely is both our babies. And we compare our relationship very often to one like uh, a marriage that you have. So that's what I do here. And I'm usually on the other side of things. Most people don't see me that often, but I am working behind the scenes and I see all of your growth journeys. And this is just an amazing environment to be a part of. And I'm glad that I get to share my version of my journey with you guys today.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything you've done for me and for all the students that we've worked with over the years. There have been a lot, and you've been an integral part of this. So thank you for that. Um, that sounds wonderful. It sounds like you're super accomplished. Everything's peachy. It's been this easy peasy thing, right? Like you're just awesome. But the truth of the matter is, just like the rest of us, you've been on a bit of a journey as well. And because this 14-day artist journey is very much about demystifying the success that people have and thinking that people just arrive, as opposed to having to get knocked down or skin their knees or go through trials and tribulations and come out the other side like a phoenix rising. Um, I don't want everyone to just think perfect. So let's talk about a time maybe where you had some struggles that led you to personal growth or professional or artistic growth. Like you get to pick the topic. I'm going to let
Sure.
you.
Yeah, so struggles, I think, I sort of categorize them in two ways. You have struggles that are within your control, and there's struggles that are outside of your control. So sometimes it's just circumstances, and sometimes it's your own, your own choices or decision making that kind of leads you into a place where you kind of fall down. And I've definitely experienced all of that. I have had businesses that I've started that failed. I've had, relationships that didn't work out, that which we'll talk a little bit about later, that were my fault as well. And then, but one of the things that happened to me very early on that was out of my control. So I feel like it was one of those circumstantial things. And a lot of you can relate to that when sometimes that sucks the most because you feel like there's nothing you can do. You don't have any control. Was a very unexpected and surprising divorce that happened back in 2016 after 10 years of marriage and 2 children. Just out of left field completely. So I had my studio was running full force. I had a team. I had people who depended on me for their paychecks. I had clients who were booked that needed to have the experience of their sessions fulfilled. And life can't just stop. And I was also building my wedding brand as well. So I already had a few weddings on the books, and I was booking more regularly, and I was going to shows and marketing myself. I was building a whole brand when all of this happened. And so it definitely took me back. And there was days I couldn't even shoot, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And a lot of the things that we talk about inside the photo artist journey has come from, Denise and I both sort of were able to articulate what it looks like to go through this experience. And it applies not only to our photography work, but in our personal lives as well. And one of the things that I did during that time was I used a lot of mantras to break up the negative feedback loops that I would hear in my head. We talk a lot about that in the book. So I encourage you guys to read through those, because we give you some of these exercises that you can use when you're in those really dark places. And that came from my experience, because when my husband left very unexpectedly, life still went on. And, I always talk about this. I have this sort of core memory moment where I had to unload the groceries, and I just didn't know how I was going to be able to get in the house without falling apart. And so I had a little prayer, I had a little mantra, just just give me enough strength to get the groceries in the house, and then later on in life, I'd done some other things that I've used those mantras for. And Denise and she's heard me say it all the time, like, you can do anything hard for a little while. And I use that all the time. And we give you some mantras in the book, but I encourage you to make up your own. and use those times when you had to go through something really difficult and you had to be really strong as examples that you can make it through and you can work through hard stuff, even if it's circumstantial and you don't have any control. Um, and even better if you do, because that means you can actually do stuff about it, which is amazing. So that was really tough.
That's an interesting point that you just made, whether it's circumstantial or whether it's your control, because oftentimes, even in circumstantial events, so your very unexpected divorce. Sorry, I have a quick crazy story about that. We were actually in Las Vegas at WPPI. They booked me for a very large room that we sold out. And I remember we had a beautiful suite that we were staying in, Lacey and I, the whole team, we were staying there. And I remember she took a bath in this big, beautiful bathtub in the room that we had, the terrace suite. And then I took a bath and she got in the shower, and she got out of the shower and she walked her little self over to the sink, and I looked at her and I was like, I hope Jeremy knows how lucky he is. And she was like, oh yeah, you bet he does, right? And we kind of giggled about it. And she left a day before I did. This is how unexpected it was. She left a day before I did. I got to the airport the next day. She called me. We chatted a bit before I got on the phone. And then she told me, make sure you call me once you landed, so I know you've made it home safely. And, put my phone on airplane mode, got off the plane. And when I turned my phone on, it just like exploded. Like there were messages and voicemails and missed calls, and it was just bananas. And I was like, what is going on? And they were from Lacey's friends, Lacey's mother, Lacey. And I'm like, oh my God, something happened to her. Like I couldn't get to her quickly enough. And when I got her on the phone, she was just sobbing and I couldn't even figure out what was going on. And I actually had to hang up and call someone else, and then realize that this had all just happened when less than 48 hours before that, we were joking about how good her husband knew he had it. Like it really just came out of left field. And even though those circumstances were absolutely out of your control, and my kind of circumstances out of my control that really derailed me obviously was my mother passing away. And in my business, like your businesses, I tried to soldier through. I really tried to soldier through, but eventually at some point I couldn't, and it all just kind of fell apart. I think a lot of that has to do because I didn't have the tools that I needed to get through that. And even if it is circumstantial, you might not have control over what comes your way in life, but you do have control over how you react to it, what you take from it, how you learn from it, and how you grow with it. And I really wish someone would have been speaking to me that way prior to me losing my mother, or I would have been more aware of these things and had them be a regular part of my life practice, because I think I would have gotten through that, certainly not unscathed by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it would have taken me to my knees, literally and figuratively, the way that it did. And I think same thing with you, Lacey, if we would have had a little bit more, both of us, of that at that time. But that's life, and you need those journeys, and there needs to be more people talking about those kind of things. And it's one of the reasons we're both so passionate about being here. So, okay, so we've covered an obstacle that you faced that was outside of your control. Have you had any that were within your control that
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you've learned from, and how have they helped you grow? That's the part I would like.
Oh, yeah. I started my boudoir studio when I was only 23. I had signed the lease on my first location at 24. So in business, I learned that when you mess something up, it was a learning opportunity really quickly. So I was never too hard on myself about, a campaign that didn't work out or an investment that I made that that didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to. I was pretty good about being flexible with failure. However, I was the boss for a reason, right? Like even at 24 years old, I put myself into a position where I could be in charge. In fact, when I was young in high school, I used to work for my uncle who has a small business here. And all I could think about, he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I just want to be the boss." That's all I could think about. I just wanted to be the boss. I didn't even know what it was, but I knew I wanted to be in charge. And I wanted to be the president when I was in grade school. So if that tells you anything about my personality, like right away. And oddly enough, though, at the same time, I really dislike confrontation. So even though I have that high, like I have a very high part of my personality is really high in leadership and that urge to take control, I'm also not very good with confrontation, which is maybe one of the reasons why I put myself in that boss position, because no one can question me, right? If I'm the boss. So I don't ever have to deal with confrontation if I'm the boss. And so that was my standard. And Denise and I, like I've always known Denise was going to be incredibly influential in the educational space. From the moment I met her in 2012, and saw the way she shot, I was like, this is different. This is something I've never seen before. What are you doing? You have to explain it to me. And I told her on the phone, in 5 years, you're going to be, in the next 5 years, you're going to be speaking on the stage at WPPI. And it happened. And
In three.
it was in 3 years. It was way faster. It was way faster. But I knew she was going to be an educator. And so I kind of already felt like it was going to be something I needed to be a part of, even though I wasn't really sure what that looked like at the time. And then you fast forward almost 10 years and, Denise went from doing her regular workshops where she would do them in person only to now we have this evolution of online courses. And so it's time to start taking this online. And so she had done it a couple times online, but we wanted to make it look a little bit different. And I had some experience in that. So we decided to partner up and work together on bringing this course to the world, making it more accessible. And I was the back end. Denise is obviously the face of our brand. She's our educator, our teacher. But I had some ideas about how I wanted things to go. And Denise has also got ideas about how things should go. And we had 2 very successful launches back to back. And then we had a launch that we were working on, and the data that we were reading was telling us different information than for what we thought the expected outcome was going to be. And as that was happening, there was also a lot of things going on about, a lot of learning was happening at the same time. And Denise and I were just kind of butting heads on the directions that we were going to go. I am not good at explaining oftentimes why we're doing things, or I'll get frustrated if I have to do that. I just want people to listen and just follow me. If I do it, follow me. If I'm working hard, everybody should be working hard. And I learned a lot about that. That's not a great way to be. And so ultimately we decided, we need to go our separate ways because our friendship is more important. Guys, just so you know, every single person needs to know that Denise and I both value our friendship and our love. I'm going to cry. Our love for each other more than any money. We were both prepared to walk away from, we're talking a pretty significant amount of income, and because our friendship was more important. So as soon as we started to see things in our relationship were devolving, we decided, let's not do this. Let's stay friends. And so that's what we did. And we took a break, and Denise moved forward, and she got to learn a lot about my role because she had to fill those shoes.
Partly. I mean, they're really but
she got to learn a lot about managing launch strategy and budgets and resources and, knowing what you can do, what you can't do, all those kinds of things. And at the same time, I went to work because I found this, I loved marketing and I wanted to do more of it. And so I went to work for a marketing agency in LA, a really established one. So we worked with like nationwide brands. And I came on as a content producer, right? Because I understand photo, video, I understand messaging. And so that's what they brought me on to do. I absolutely loved it. And I worked with a creative director who was wildly talented. But I will tell you, it took a huge toll on me because as a content producer, I would have to go through 3 rounds of feedback. So I would create an idea, a concept for a piece of content, and then it would have to go to our creative director. And then the creative director would send me feedback, and then I'd have to make changes and send it back to the creative director. And then the creative director is going to send it to the client, and then the client gives us feedback. And then another. So one concept that I would create would go through all of these filters of feedback from people. And if you've never been in a position, and I think a lot of photographers would probably squirm in their seats when we're talking about this right now, which is imagine having an idea for a photograph and then having to run it through 3 other people, and one of them is paying, and you're having to translate what it is that they're requesting and then, bring it back to them better than they expected. And it's tough. And there were many nights where I was in front of the computer, in front of briefs, crying because it was so tough. However, I pushed through, man, because I wanted it. I wanted to be good at it. And I didn't let any of the negative things in my head, the stuff that comes in, the untruths, like we talk about in the book, where they start telling you you're not good enough or any of those things. I just nixed that right away. That's not true. I've done this in my life. I know I'm awesome at this. I'm going to be the best they've ever had if I'm not already the best they ever had. And I was. Of course, I can't help my entrepreneurial spirit. It will not stay in one place because I was like, I'm really good at this now. So you can't hold on to me because now I have to go use it for my own benefit. So I'm sorry, got to go. But it was a great experience, but it taught me a lot about collaboration. And that was something I was sorely lacking in. And not just collaboration, but communicating and receiving people's feedback, and letting them feel heard and taking what they have to say into consideration and not being closed-minded to it. And those were all the things that I was experiencing beforehand. And beforehand, I thought I had all the answers. And I don't want any confrontation. So everybody just listen to me. This is the rules. This is what we're going to do. And now I've in this other place, this new place of understanding that there's so much strength in collaboration and feedback. So I'm totally like, I'll come to my team. We'll come to Denise. Like when we have meetings, we'll say like, here's the idea. Let's throw spears at it. Like, where can we find holes? Let's like break it down. Tell me what's wrong with it. Let's find the mistakes, and because that's how we learn and put processes in place and things like that to just get better and better and better. And so it was a really important experience for me to have. And Denise and I recently got a chance to kind of connect, and just like an old flame, we spent the evening talking. And we realized, I'm telling her on the phone, like, oh, I learned so much now. I'm a great listener now. And she's like, oh yeah, you are. And I'm so good at, like, I've started learning about structure and I've changed all of these things in my life. And we're like, we should really get together. And then my husband even said, he's like, you guys are just like a divorced couple, just jumping right back in bed together. Yeah, you're right. Probably.
But it's like such a great role in the hay. It's ridiculous. Like, how could we not? I mean,
oh, and it's so crazy. I think you'd agree. Like this time around, we've gone through a whole launch, and even though we haven't had as much time together as we usually do before launch, the time that we've had, like we've been under quite a bit of strain from different directions. I won't get into the details, but we've been under a lot of strain, and this stuff would have been terrible for us before. Like we would not have been able to handle it.
Deal breakers for sure.
Yeah, like both of us would have been falling apart. And now it's just this like seamless integration between like I'm there with the things that she needs, she's there with the things I need. We're respecting each other, we're communicating well, and it's just going so well. And like, I don't even care. I mean, I would love to make dollars forever with you, but I don't even care if we make any dollars because I just love doing what we're doing. I love sharing what we're sharing with people, seeing the transformations, and I love working with you. So if I can just make a living and work with you, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I mean, it was a dark day. It was a really, really dark day when we got to that point where we decided we can't work together anymore. I was like, my God, what am I going to do? Like, that was my first instinct, just like, well, I'm going to have to quit because I can't do this by myself. I can't. And you propped me up through it. Even in that, you were like, nope, you can do this. You'll figure it out. Like, but we have to. And I was like, okay, yeah, we have to. And we both had to like go through that. That was awful. That launch was horrible. That experience was horrible. Um, it was all, it was really tough stuff, you guys, really tough stuff. um I was left feeling all kinds of ways, but I also knew that, and to be 100% transparent, it did affect our friendship. I think we hardly spoke with each other. We would speak maybe once every couple of months, and it would be very kind of surface level for a while. I think there was a lot of pain and a lot of hurt for both of us in what we lost as a business, but also, the conflicts that we did have and the damage that it did to the friendship. And so it did damage our friendship for a while as well, but I think then we both were forced to go on separate journeys. And I would have to say the beginning of my journey in that period wasn't so good. I did the same thing that I always do. I defaulted and looked for people to just fill in the gaps where I couldn't do things. And I I kind of I'm a terrible leader. I'm full transparency, terrible leader over here. It's not my skill set at all. And I didn't lead the people that were working with me very well. And I made a lot of the same mistakes that I made when I was working with Lacey. And I started to see that, oh shit, this is happening again. Where's my culpability in it? Because I don't want to keep living like this. Like, what do I need to do? And it wasn't until I did that, until I took some responsibility and started looking at that I decided I need to start making some changes. And a lot of those changes, this is going to sound kind of funny, but a lot of those changes weren't like, Denise, how do you do business differently? The majority of those changes were, Denise, why are you talking to yourself that way? Denise, why are you holding this belief? Denise, why are you behaving this way? They were much more internal things about myself that were so incredibly negative that they affected everyone else around me and the relationships and the way I behaved in relationships around me as well. So one of the things that Lacey would consistently ask me to do when we were working together was show up more, like on camera. Let's shoot this content. Let's do this. Let's do that. And there was a big, like, that was a hard stop. No, like, I will not do that. If I'm going to be out there and be an educator, I kind of need to do that. And she very gracefully and nicely tried to get me past it, but there was no way that someone else could get me past that. No matter how much love she gave me, no matter how much positive feedback she gave me, there was nothing that she could do to get me to do that. I had to do that work myself. And I couldn't do it for her. I had to do it for me. And once I started working on things for myself, it's it is now so much easier to be aware of what other people need and give them those needs. We were in Las Vegas recently, and I looked at her and I told her, "You're doing such a great job at blah 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 blah." And she looked over at me and she said, I know, I don't need you to tell me I'm doing a great job because I'm confident that I'm doing a great job. My love language is acts of service. And so if you want to show me that you're happy with the work that I'm doing, then continue doing the work that I need you to do. And I was like, okay, I hear you. Now, that is not the first time she's told me that, but it might have been the first time that I really heard it because I was aware enough to be like, okay, whereas I need things like that occasionally from her, and she's not real free with giving them because she just kind of assumes everybody thinks they're awesome because she thinks she's so awesome. And she is. Um, so and whereas I'm like, well, if I'm not showing up, how is that affecting you? I mean, that's my problem, not your problem. So it was this personal work that I was doing, and I think personal work that you were doing as well, that it made it so much easier for us to come back and have just such a healthier working relationship, and respecting each other's needs and wants and love languages. I know that sounds silly in a business partnership, but it is not. It's very important. And be able to deliver on those things. I had to really get again, I got taken to my knees in that situation. But that time, instead of just letting those circumstances, which I definitely had a very large role in, instead of just letting those circumstances be like, oh, these are circumstances outside of my control, I was like, no, I had some culpability in this, and I want to figure out how to fix this so that I can show up better everywhere else. And that's what I really got out of.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that that when we talk about fixing or we talk about like making changes or any of those things, those things are always from the perspective or the lens of the part where we talk about with self-reflection, like really knowing yourself. So for instance, Denise knows herself so well now that she used to say, well, I just need to become a better leader. I just need to be a better leader. And that would become a negative feedback loop because it would say, you're not a good leader. You're not a good leader. You're not a good leader. Here's confirmation. Here's confirmation. And what she's done now is she's saying, I'm not a great leader, but I know the right people to put in the positions that can do this so I can thrive in the places that I'm going to thrive. So when you guys are thinking about, and I'm the same way, I've had that same experience where I'm really good at strategy, and there's sometimes when there's like execution parts of my strategy that need to happen and I'll put them off. And so I have to have a person, like I have to have my person who does all of my, like break everything down into lists, because if I don't have that, like it's not going to get done. I know where my holes are in my personality. And so when we talk, you don't have to be everything.
No.
You don't have to be everything. You have to know where you live in your strengths. Be self-aware, stop negative feedback loops, look for places to grow, and then find the support systems that you need to move you forward in those things. Like Denise she wants to learn lighting. Instead of trying to learn it, the way a lot of people do with like the sciencey, number stuff, she's found someone who's going to teach her in a way that she can understand. And maybe it's like bare minimum stuff where it's just kind of like repeat these settings every time. She doesn't have to know everything, but it's enough to get her further along. And that's all she needs. And we were talking about that today. And so I'm sort of the same way. I look for opportunities to learn in ways that I know I can be successful, instead of beating myself up and saying, well, you should be like so-and-so. So when we talk about when we talk about all this development stuff, I just want to remind you, like, that self-reflection part is so important because it grounds you in who you are, not just looking at our faults and stuff, but also who you are. Because once you know who you are, then you can strengthen your weaknesses with practice and such, but then you can really lean into your strengths. And then you can surround yourself and get the resources that you need to help you fill in the holes so that you can get to your vision, your ultimate vision. and which I think kind of is a great segue into vision planning. And I think, the next portion of the photo artist journey here pretty soon is going to be working on your photo submissions. And so Denise, do you want to talk a little bit about that while I pull up the rules?
Yeah. So, recently I've decided, I've gotten to this place where I'm pretty clear in my vision and how I want to move forward and who I am. And, I talked about this on Friday. I am done with having, the branding kit that is palatable to the masses. That's kind of me, but not really me. It's like a watered down version of me so that it's palatable to the masses. Um, I'm I'm completely over shooting what I think my audience wants to see. And I am ready to just 100% lean into who I am in terms of my branding, in terms of the things that I want to shoot, in terms of the way that I shoot them. It's time. It's that season in my life. I've gotten to the point where I know myself enough and I'm comfortable enough with myself that if people don't like what I'm doing, that's not my problem. And it's not a reflection of who I am. So I'm real clear in my vision now. And now that's not to say that every single thing is going to be the same. There's going to be all kinds of experimenting, but that's part of who I am. And that's part of my vision now. I want to experiment more. I want to play more. I really want to learn lighting because I want to do some direct, like hard, crazy, crunchy flash kind of stuff. Like I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to create of myself and put it out in this world. And the people that love it can love it. And the people who don't love it, that's fine too, because art is
Yeah.
subjective.
I
I,
think that the trying and failing needs to be a part of your plan. Like
yeah,
as you're building out your vision, it's part of your vision. Like you don't make this crystal version of the images that you're going to create or the business you're going to build or the retirement you're working on or whatever it is, like your projects, like whatever you're doing as a creative. When you build this vision out, you need to build trial and error and failure into the plan. It's part of the plan. It's not like, oh, I didn't make this step or it's not perfect, so it's over.
you don't escape it, right, Lacey? There is no escaping it. Like
Absolutely not.
this is actually called LIFE.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is that is just part of life. So you don't get around it. It's just how do you take it in? What do you learn from it? Like you
Yeah.
can't control it. You
And then
just
it gets really exciting because once you realize that it's the birthplace of all things that are brilliant, you
mm,
start running. I always talk about this with my team and with even my husband. He's got his own business that he's working on. And we talk about running to pressure. Pressure is that place where you're about to fail, right? We're trying to find failure because when we find it, we want to fail fast because that's where learning happens. And we want to learn as fast as we can. So like find the places where we can fail because we want to learn. And yeah, it gets exciting. You start looking for it. Like, I wonder if I can push the boundaries here. And then, oh, too far, bring it back. you know? So with that, if you don't mind, Denise, I could kind of talk to everybody about the photo artist submissions, the categories, some of the rules. So today is the official day that submissions open. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, we're encouraging you to submit new work, but if you have old work that you feel is, that captures the vision or something that you've been working on, or you feel like is really encompassed some, a risk that you took, that's totally fine. You can submit that as well.
yeah, both of those things are open for submission. we
Great.
we would like to see new work, but if there's a piece where you really like colored outside of the lines, right, you did the do, you got into that place where you had to learn, then we're open to that as well. Absolutely.
So the eligibility portion of our photo artist journey submission group is open to all amateur and professional portrait photographers over the age of 18. The submission periods during this time is April 23rd through the 27th. So you can submit anytime during this period. We have submission categories. So one, composition. So we'll be looking at composition. Two, posing. So this is going to be posing. Yeah, Denise loves that. Three, lighting. So interesting lighting. Four, editing. You know, that is its own skill and craft in and of itself. So we would love to see some of that stuff as well. And then fifth one is emotive. Like that's our favorite category because we're looking for an image that's got lots of feels, but there's lots of different ways to tell a story. So we're very excited to see all of the different submissions that come through in these categories. Today, you should be able to visit the photoartistjourney.com, and about midway down there is a section where you can start, you know, actually submitting. And you can submit to multiple categories if you feel that your image matches the category. And there's additional information on that page about how to name your files, what size they should be, and so on. So you'll be able to grab that right from the page. And let's see here. All entries have to be submitted in a digital format. They can't exceed 5 megabytes, but you'll see that on the page as well. You have to have a signed model release from the subject. So
Mandatory.
Mandatory is the signed model release. Again, that's reiterated on the submissions page, but just to remind you. And also by entering this competition, participants agree to allow the organizers to use and submit images for promotional purposes related to the competition. So obviously we're going to want to like show off your work, talk about it. And so make sure that you are okay with that before you submit. And we won't be able to share anything with erotica or nudity because of Facebook rules. You can still submit it and we'll be happy to, it's not going to disqualify you from any awards. We just won't be able to brag about you to everyone. And the other thing that's really interesting about this is that Denise, as well as several of the other interviewees, will be reviewing images and sending you feedback. So this isn't just about competition. This is about getting feedback. And again, the feedback's not scary. Feedback is the birthplace of growth. And even when you get I've gotten feedback which I totally disagreed with. I'm sure you have too, Denise. Absolutely not. That's absolutely wrong. You're wrong. And I've even argued my place about a concept where I was like, no, that's incorrect. And so it's okay too. You don't have to take it. It's not, you know, what my daughter would say, Bible. It's not Bible. You don't have to take it, you know.
Yeah, we're not perfect either. Art is subjective. And so
no.
different opinions about different things, but it's great that you're going to get people with unique voices and unique visions looking at your work. And I just want to encourage you guys, like, I don't do a lot of submissions to things. As a matter of fact, the only time I've been published in magazines is when magazines have asked me to shoot covers or editorials for them. It's when I've been approached to do it, not I've never went looking for it. Because that's scary. That's scary to me. And when I got a message, when I got an email to be part of the Pro Prince Legends of portrait photography competition, I was like, they must have done that on accident. They didn't mean to send that to me. And then my next thing was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I was scared. I was scared, guys. Like I was scared. Lacey was with me. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, pacing around that room like a tiger. I was like, what do I think I'm doing? I can't, I'm not getting up to do this, like the whole thing, right? I reeled it back though, with like, I pulled those negative loops back, which is why I was able to go out and do it. I replaced them with truths and I went out and I did it and I did the thing. I am not going to win that competition. The winners haven't been announced yet. I guarantee you I am not going to win that competition. That is okay because I went out and I shot what my heart wanted to shoot and I had such an amazing time. It was such a wonderful experience. It was so much fun. And I learned a lot while I was doing it, like a lot. Like mostly I really need to learn how to use artificial light like an artist. That was one of my big takeaways. but it's prompted me to be really proactive about doing that instead of just saying, artificial light sucks, which is generally what I say. And quite frankly, which is generally what I think. But I like on that day, I was like, ooh, there is some value in this. Like, this is a missing piece in my skill set. I need to level up here because I don't want to be in a position again where I would have had the winning image had I had some fill light.
Mhm.
Right. So the fact that I am not going to take home the prize from that competition does not define who I am. It does not mean I am a great artist or I am not a great artist. It's just a competition I participated in. I've created work before it that was more beautiful. I've created work before it that was not as beautiful. I will create work after it that is more beautiful, and I will create work after it that is not as beautiful. And it's all okay. Like, this creation is so important, and getting pushed outside of your comfort zone and being able to do new, exciting things that we're not commissioned for is incredibly important. So I encourage all of you, like, go ahead, run towards that pressure and see what you can learn from it and see how much fun you can have it and get your creativity reignited and be
Mhm.
passionate about your craft and your art again and just have fun with it. Like,
Mhm.
go have a blast. Like, I want you.
We do have prizes for the different place settings, and we actually have there'll be like first place, second place, third, but then we also have honorable mentions. Yes, of course, are there prizes to win? Yes, there's like a lighting kit, and there's some other things. There's scholarships, all of those things. Definitely worth working towards if that's what motivates you. But truly, the real prize of this entire photo artist journey is, you know, is going through the journal, showing up or listening to these interviews and these journeys, being inspired, and then taking all that in and going out and creating something and submitting.
Yes.
That is the prize. Like, you have, if
You
you
want
do that, you've won.
one.
So, and plus, we want to see your beautiful images because it's fun.
We want to win too. We want to win by being able to consume all this amazing art that you guys are going to create. Like,
Yes.
be curious. Go be young. Go back to that young self that was unafraid and uninhibited. Go be curious, go have fun, be young, be fresh, be new, be excited, be all of the beautiful adjectives. Just go live in a beautiful way and have fun with it. I'm so excited to see what you guys create. Like, I'm over the moon about it. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. Do we have anything else that we need to let them know about?
So as we do every one of these interviews, we always give away a canvas. Now, because this interview is being streamed right now, we will still be giving away that canvas. You just need to comment on this live stream, and I will be watching the live stream, and I will be picking a winner in the comments.
Yeah.
So,
And that is a 32 by 48 canvas
Mhm.
wrap by ProPrint. So it's an awesome, we love ProPrints. We love ProPrints. Thank you guys so very much for being such amazing supporters of the artist journey and of artists in general.
Mhm. And we
We
have several more days of amazing interviews coming up while you're working through your submissions to keep you motivated, to keep you moving forward. And then we have some awesome events in our group. So we're glad that you're here. And yeah, you guys don't see me, but I see you behind the scenes.
You guys see way too much of me and I don't see enough of you. I wish you guys were on live with me. But thank you so much for going on this journey with us, Lacey. Thank you for the beautiful life that we have lived together all of these years. You are an amazing partner and an amazing friend, and I'm so very grateful for you. Thank you for encouraging me to continue going on this journey, this life journey, and for all of the support and love that you've given me over the years. Um, and with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap. We're going to say adieu to everyone. And thank you guys for your time. And we're looking forward to seeing you mañana. Oh, all of the different languages. Ciao, Bellas.
Ciao.
Thank you, Lacey.
Thanks.